Hello, everybody, and welcome back to AutoKnerd. I'm your host, Andrew Sardone. Today, we're going to be talking about closing. Now, this is an area that I usually avoid, and the reason that I avoid it is because, first off, I spend most of my time in customer-centric sales, and customer-centric sales means that you are there for the customer. And you may have heard me say this before, and I say it all the time, actually, in my classes, is that the difference between a salesperson and a sales consultant, it can be wildly different. And what I mean is, if you look at a salesperson, and I mean no offense by this, so just follow me until the end of the sentence before you turn this whole thing off. When you look at the definition of salesperson, it basically states that a salesperson is an individual that will sell anything to anybody, regardless of the person's need or desire, right? It's hunting for the paycheck, which I understand. I mean, we all started off in this business in some way, and a lot of us start off as salespeople, right? Customer comes in, we just sell them whatever because we got to make some money. And that does make a lot of sense. But you have to understand is that we put in these roadblocks along the way that force closing to become a thing, right? You have to understand that customers, when they come into a dealership, if they call you, and we'll just talk about sales in general. Let's say they call you for an insurance purpose. They go ahead and they call you for you having their bicycle repaired. They call you for a reservation. The thing is that we can't drop the ball on a simple call. And I'll have a whole thing talking about calls, but that initial phone call that they have is setting up the stage to see if you are going to be safe for them to come on in and even talk to in the first place. That's one of those areas that a lot of people tend to make a big fall right then and there. Now, I'm not going to change the topic away from closing, but the thing is that people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And if you own that statement, if you own that mantra of people do business with people they know, like, and trust, you'll find out pretty quickly when it comes to closing really isn't a thing. Closing's just something to convince somebody to buy something by usually giving something to them or taking away something in a negative way that forces them to simply go ahead and buy your product. Not cool. It doesn't help any salesperson out today when it comes to bolstering your surveys. It doesn't help when it comes to, deriving profit. It doesn't help when, going to pay your mortgage. It doesn't help your bank account out, right? Playing the role of salesperson with today's customer is not what the average customer is looking for. I mean, think about walking through the mall when, we all had those things, and, going by the cell phone kiosk, right? That cell phone sales consultant or salesperson rather is sitting there with their phone, like waving it at you, like, come on over, look at the latest and greatest, whatever phone. People don't like that. They don't like being sold. What people do like is simply being helped. And you can see this an awful lot in advertising today, is that, hey, we're out there because we're for the people, right? Kind of thing. A sales consultant isn't out to simply just get the paycheck. Yes, that is our end game. Of course, we have to sell something in order to eat, and in order to do that, we must get paid. But we're aiming for high grosses. We're not aiming for 50 marks on the board. I don't care. You can go ahead and work your tail off, get 50 marks on the board. Congratulations. You have half of those probably as like mini deals. That's the thing, is that when it comes down to salespeople, we push and we push and we push, and we drag the customer along after we have allowed the customer to select a vehicle for themselves, only to find that vehicle is definitely not going to work for them when it comes down to payment. You see, payment's one of those things that we have to talk about even right from the beginning. We cannot leave it off. And if you're leaving payment off in the beginning, or you're addressing it in a way that sets up an argument in the end, basically asking stupid questions like, well, how much do you want to pay for the vehicle? Well, you asked the question, so I'm going to answer it based on how you asked it. And I would like to pay $250 a month. I would like to take your car, my mortgage, the camper, the motorcycle payment, all of it, condense it on down to $250 a month. I feel that is reasonable. You ask the dumb question, I'm giving the dumb answer. Sound similar? You see, we install shortcuts along the way that actually end up hurting us an awful lot and set up the close, or rather the contract signing, as a close in the end. Now, I know many people are going to be watching this going, well, what's this guy talking about? You got to be kidding me. Closing isn't a thing. No, it's not. Actually, closing is a fabricated item that was out there to simply get you to get people to come on in and teach you magical words to make somebody buy something. Let's look at this through a slightly different light. Let's look at it through a sales consultant's eyes. You see, the lens of a sales consultant is a customer comes in. We learn about the customer. We learn about their motives. We learn about the emotional state that drives them. We then use information about their life, who they are, what they do day to day, to paint a story of value, to paint a story that allows the customer to impress upon their imagination their desires actually coming to fruition. This isn't something that salespeople do. This is something that consultants do. And the only reason that a consultant can do it and a salesperson cannot is a salesperson isn't affording the time in the beginning of the process to learn who this person is. If you're a sales manager, one of the things that you've probably said to your sales consultants an awful lot is, hey, get out there and control your customer. I get it. I used to say it too. Thing is that when you say get out there and control your customer, what you're really meaning, you might want to reword that a little bit because there's no way that we can actually control somebody that is in the dealership. And I made a whole podcast on this already, but just change that up a little bit, right? Give the sales consultant something to do, right? Meaning this is that when you have a sales consultant come into your office, or if you're a sales consultant and you just want to up your listening game, here's a really easy way to do it. During needs assessment, make it a case to learn 3 things about the customer every single time you sit down, right? So 3 things to learn about their personal life. Now, you will have a lot of customers that will not ever want to divulge any of this information to you. Fine, right? They're going to be very car oriented. And we know that there's people in the world that's like that. Those people are usually going to require you to click on salesperson mode real quick, sell them a car, move along, take a deep breath. And then the next customer that comes along, we reset. Back to consultant, right? This gets rid of the highs and the lows in your pay. So one month you're doing really good, next month you crash. That reset of, okay, now I'm back to my process, being customer centric. Now I can go ahead and learn about the customer. By going ahead and challenging ourselves as sales consultants, or as a manager, challenging sales consultants to bring back 3 pieces of new information about that customer every single time, you now have taken a sales consultant or gone from salesperson to sales consultant because you simply can get that information. But as a manager, now we're taking our whole sales team. If they can deliver that information every single time, now I'm taking that sales team and I am upping their game. They may not even know it at that point in time, but eventually you'll have salespeople that will start to look at a customer and go, well, on your commute every single day, you said, X, Y, and Z. Here's how this particular vehicle can solve that particular issue for you and improve your life and make it better, right? By painting that picture, again, based on the customer's life. Because here's what we see happen with salespeople all the time, is that we have people that will come on onto our lot, right? Fresh up comes on in. We walk out, we say hi to them. We then will go ahead and ask them, well, what are you here to see? And then the customer will say, well, I'm here to see this particular vehicle. Now, we will then take that customer over to that particular vehicle, and they'll act like that 5-year-old that is out pumpkin patching. And many of you have heard that story before, right? 5-year-old on a pumpkin patch will simply go ahead and select the biggest pumpkin that's out there. Well, that behavior doesn't change as we get older. Actually, it gets worse. Seriously, take a look around at all the things inside of your home that you just don't need, right? You don't need the biggest pumpkin every single time. So when you're working with these customers, stop taking them out in your lot. You're hurting yourself because the customer's going to select the biggest and baddest vehicle for themselves. They're going to see those chrome wheels. They're going to see the full glass roof. They're going to see the white leather interior, and they're going to go, I need that. No, you don't. You don't. Your paycheck doesn't need it. Your bank account doesn't need it. Your life doesn't need it. Sure, you'll look good in it, and why the heck would I want to sell it to you? But the thing is that I'm going to go ahead, give you a test drive as a salesperson. You're going to come back to the dealership. We're going to sit down, and I ask you a dumb question in the beginning of how much you wanted to pay. I'm going to slap down a new mortgage payment in front of you, and you're going to get defensive because it isn't what you told me. Well, a sales consultant on this end will bring the customer in, that fresh up, bring them in, sit them down. And when they sit them down, if a topic of price comes up, and the reason I'm honing in on price is that one of the phrases that I absolutely despise is buyers are liars. Buyers are many times misinformed, and it's our job as consultants to go ahead and educate them. And you'll also notice consultants simply won't say buyers are liars. Buyers are just misinformed, and they need some help. So we're there to help them, right? That's the whole point. So customer comes in, you sit them down. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. So yeah, I've taken you been to other stores. Oh yeah, I've been to quite a few so far. All right, cool. So I'm pretty sure you've been educated on price. No, not really. Oh, okay. So let me fill you in real quick. So quite easily, for every $5,000 you finance for 60 months is about $100 a month. Real easy equation. Over there, I got a $30,000 car. How much is it? It's gonna be $600 a month. And I've talked about that a whole bunch. The deal is giving the customer simple math to do affords them the ability to go, yes, this vehicle will work, or no, that vehicle will not work. So how does this equate to closing? Well, if the customer is already informed on price, and I've pulled around one or two vehicles that they've looked at, maybe even test drove, and keep in mind, you don't want to test drive 15 cars. But if the customer's walked over to the window sticker and you've invited them to take a look at the window sticker, and they've looked at the MSRP and been like, so this would be, and then they'd shake their head, okay, that's confirmation that that vehicle is going to work for them. Now, if you want to see it on the opposite end, go ahead and pull around a vehicle that is so far outside of their book. You already know that this vehicle is not even in the same stratosphere. Pull it around and have them do the math. And all of a sudden, they're going to go, holy cow, no, that will absolutely not work. And when the customer goes, hey, can you bring the price down a little bit? Actually, not much. Actually, not at all. But what I can do is we can find another vehicle that might fit into your pocketbook, but also offer up the features that you will be needing. And based on our needs assessment, you needed these 5 to 7 items. And those 5 to 7 items are what's going to sell the person the car. You see, as salespeople, we'll simply go ahead and try to sell them a vehicle that they came in on because that's what they're interested in. Makes sense, right? We try to sell the whole car. But if you attempt to sell the whole vehicle, a lot of the times we end up hacking our foot off directly at the knee and, just making it so our job is harder. So we have to embody and also understand that the customer has chosen 2 to 3 vehicles that they want to drive. And if they've chosen 2 to 3 vehicles that they want to drive, this basically means that they're sold on those vehicles that they built the guts up to walk into a dealership. So they built the guts up to walk into a dealership. They sit down, they talk to a consultant. The consultant will go ahead and ask tons of open-ended questions, right? I like to rely on why questions because it really gets down into the nitty-gritty of it as far as, why this vehicle, why are you going to be driving it in that manner? And the customer, they never really get defensive. They'll just keep telling you what's going on. You see, with a sales consultant, our job for customer-centric sales is to understand that the customer has 2 roadmaps on how to sell them a car. One roadmap is, how we can go ahead and instantly get them in a vehicle and hope it's going to work and also hope it pays us. The other way is to figure out what exactly they actually really need and want, right? Keep in mind, most of the stuff when they say, I need 3 seats. No, you want 3 seats. You have a family of 5 and cars come with 5 seats, right? So why do you need those 3 seats? The obvious is they want their kids to spread out. But if you get them to say it, then when you walk up to the vehicle, you can reiterate and paraphrase that and show them by painting the picture that you understand what they were saying and reinforce, here's how this thing is going to work for you. So that's really the difference here, right? Salespeople try to sell a car. Sales consultants acknowledge that you're already sold in the vehicle. I just need to give you permission to buy the vehicle by verifying that those 5 to 7 items are what you want. Now, test drive's over. The customer's back at your desk. They're sitting down. You're looking at each other in the face. It's about time to go ahead and present the pricing. How does this play out for a salesperson? Well, salesperson, the vast majority of the time, will attempt to find a vehicle that's going to work for the customer. Keep in mind, if it's going to work for the customer, doesn't mean that the customer can necessarily afford it, right? If I walk into your dealership and you show me the Mac of all the vehicles, yeah, it's great. I love it. It's going to work for me. But is it going to be affordable? Really depends on the dealership, I guess. But the thing with this is the customers come in and they're sold in that car. But then as a salesperson, we show them the whole darn vehicle on our walk around because we didn't spend the time in the beginning simply learning about them. So for all the people out there that are going, Andy, I do my needs assessment on my feet. That's great. Imagine if you knew more about the customer and how much money you've left on the table over the past 27 years. Just saying. So spend that time with the customer in the beginning, because once you go ahead and present the figures, ask yourself this: Do you want a customer that's prepared for those figures, that already knows what those figures should be around, or do you want that to be a surprise? Sales consultants don't offer up surprises. We offer up education, and then we give you the end result of what you requested, right? Salesperson, here's your vehicle, here's your new payment. Let me help you pick your eyes up off my desk and pop them back in your head. So try not to rely so heavily on the car sale of the one-liner closes, because I've taught them and I've watched billions of them on YouTube, and every single time they either A, make me angry, or they because they hurt what you're doing. First off, right? You're trying to establish a great relationship with the customer, and all of a sudden the customer hears these one-liners out of your mouth. I'm sorry, but one-liners, all they're going to do is show me a sign of disrespect, because you don't have the knowledge that you need about myself to build value in that product. In addition to that, when you're using your one-liners, it means that one of us needs to sacrifice something, and usually it's the consultant. The house never loses, okay? Just hear me out on that. The house never loses. No matter what type of business that you are in, the only time that the house will lose is if the dealership is either A, going out of business, or that vehicle is so old that they had to write it down so many times that now the insurance is building up to the point where, they might as well just buy the darn car. So since the house never loses, and since when it comes down, and I don't mean any offense to managers, we all have our own job to do here. When you do your TO as a salesperson and you're really close on numbers, but all of a sudden the customer goes, well, I'm like $40 or $50 off a month. And now your manager goes, all right, time to crack those knuckles and get the magic happening. Now we've gone from 60 months to 96 months and we've dropped your payment $140 a month. How do you feel about that? Well, so I'm going to live with this car? Well, I mean, you wanted the low payment, right? Yeah, but I maybe wanted to buy a car like in the next 2 to 3 years, maybe mix it up a little bit. I didn't want like a vehicle for like 8 or 9 years. What the heck? Oh, well, here's your payment. Will that work? Yeah, I guess it'll work. I'll take it. And then they tank us on the survey. So with this, we want to be close on price, or right on the head of the nail when we present those numbers. And this really comes down to understanding the customer's emotional state at that time has to be engaged enough that they're motivated to look past the numbers and say, I need this vehicle. And the only way you can do that is if a customer's motivated enough to do it. And again, look around your house. Do you need half the stuff that you buy, right? You got a big old television on the wall. Do you need that? Could you actually get away with a little 24-inch screen, or maybe just your tablet? I bet you could if you tried, or if you absolutely had to, right? Do you need the latest and greatest electronics? Do you need the latest and greatest kitchen equipment? Do you need the latest and greatest anything? The answer is emphatically no across the board on most things, unless you're, in a technology field that absolutely needs the best of the best. With this information, just understand, as a consultant, we learn about the customer and we sell the 5 to 7 things. That's all we got to do. When we've educated the customer through a needs assessment of here's how much your vehicle is going to cost, there's no surprises in the end, right? As a salesperson, we simply go ahead, give the customer a vehicle that will put a smile on their face. We take them for one heck of a test drive. We bring them back, and then we open up our songbook of pathetic closes that do nothing but go ahead and erode at your own paycheck. Think that through. Seriously, take a moment and think it through. Because when you sit down with somebody, if you are at a dealership that pays you based on gross profit, it's not about being a salesperson. It's not about being an order taker. It's not about being somebody that sits there and just jots down, okay, you want this, let's try to go ahead and get you in it. No, if you say, yeah, let's try to get you in it, you've already failed. Your paycheck is derived on the fact that the customer is in an emotional state where they feel positive enough that they can get over that hump of money. You see, price comes down to the 9th and 11th thing almost on every single survey. It is that low. It's right around the 10th position of reasons why a customer buys a vehicle when they talk to a consultant. When they talk to a salesperson, it bumps up to number 1, number 2. Why is that? It's because we make it an issue. Not the customer. It was never an issue for the customer. The customer did their research. They kind of figured out where they needed to be. When they talked to a consultant, we may have needed to bump down a vehicle in order to go ahead and get them in the right payment wheelhouse that they expected, or at least they had previously. But the thing with this is that as a salesperson, I don't want to go ahead and walk away with many after many after many. Congratulations, you made $600 this week and you sold 6 cars. that hurts. That hurts me just knowing that that's going on out there. Slow down in the beginning. Learn who this person is, because you want to educate them enough to the point that when you slap down that payment in front of them, they look at it and go, this vehicle is absolutely worth it. You jazz me up enough. I am going to go ahead and buy this thing. I've listened to everything that you said, and this is a great time. Thank you very, very, very much. Then after the vehicle sold, just for a little bit of evidence on it, if you want to prove that I am wrong or right, look at the customer, and you will bump into a couple of these every so often. When you're done, go, hey, did you almost buy this car somewhere else? Well, yes, I did. Okay, cool. How much were you going to pay for it there? Well, about $3,000 more than what you had. Well, why'd you buy it from me? Well, because you actually do your stuff and I was able to get the job done and you made it enjoyable to buy it. So it wasn't about the money. No, it wasn't about the money. The vast majority of the people, money gets them in the door. It's not the reason they buy. The reason they buy is the motivations that they have behind the vehicle that are amped up by you. Never stop investing in your ability to become a great conversationalist, your ability to listen, and then your ability to utilize that information by painting the picture. Because you don't want to be caught in a situation that is essentially clickbait for everybody that walks to their front door. What's the best price? I don't even have a car yet, buddy. Right? What's my interest rate? Still don't even have a car yet. Let's go find that stuff. Let's buddy up. Let's become friends for a quick second. Let me learn about you, and then let me utilize that information to help you out even more. So that's all for today. Short, sweet, to the point. But with all that being said, go ahead, click on that subscribe button. That helps me out in a big way. It helps me help you. In addition to that, if you are listening to this on the podcast, just note that there is a YouTube channel. Feel free, come on over if you would like. It's a little bit easier on your computer every so often. But if you are listening to me on the podcast, just look at your podcast real quick. Click subscribe. All right, you'll get that notification every Thursday when I launch a new podcast. But if you have anything that you would like me to cover, simply put it down in the comments or shoot me an email, andrew@AutoKnerd.com, and I'll be happy to respond. Have a great one out there. Happy selling, everybody, and I'll talk to you else next week. Bye.